Hi there, I'm Whitney Smith, and we are going over the training syllabus for the Ontario Security Guard training course. So, we are talking here about Section 4 report writing. So, this is going through what the expectations are of Section 4 of the Ontario Security Guard course. So, security guards are required to complete written reports of occurrences, duties performed, and comprehensive descriptions of their tasks, observations. The trainer, whoever you do your training with, is going to instruct you how to write reports that are objective and standardized. So, we're going to talk about um, how to record relevant factual data and circumstances in your notebook. So, here's the notebook just to give you an example. So, ultimately, you're going to put your name, going to put all your details. Now, this is kind of old school. A lot of companies are not using an old school notebook anymore. They're using apps or some sort of digital system. So, you might have a notebook and you might have you might have some other app or whatever it might be. The nice thing is, um, so in the old school books, they have some notes here. Hold on, so you're gonna have lots of different note-taking hints. So if you need, kind of some ideas, you're gonna have, property descriptions. You're gonna have, your fire extinguishers. You're gonna have all sorts of stuff in here. You're gonna have that use of force model. So there's gonna be some nice things in here. So whether you use it all the time, it is nice to have these books. It's gonna give you, some of the arrest techniques. I'm arresting you for, and then you're gonna describe the reason, da da da. Arresting youth. Like, it's going to give you a lot of different information. And one important thing is you can keep your license in it. So we mentioned earlier that the licenses are digital now, so you can have that printed, because with them being digital, if you don't have a printed copy of your license, then ideally you have to hand over your phone, because if somebody says, "Hey, I want to see your license. I want to make sure that you're a licensed security guard," you'd have to ideally show them your phone, which you might not want to, because they might grab your phone and run with it. So ultimately, if you have in your notebook, you can have it in your pocket. Yeah, no problem. Here's my license, blah, and show them, and then you can go on. But so you're going to have your notebook. The different types of purposes of reports, recognizing legal implications of reports and confidentiality, incorporating who, what, when, where, why, and how in report writing, how to take a statement, and identifying an appropriate method of communication to report an issue. So report writing is huge in the security industry. So this is a very important part of the course, though it's only a 2-hour, requirement for this particular section. It's very important. And if for whatever reason, maybe retention of material or comprehension of material isn't your biggest strong suit, this is one you really want to pay attention to, and really use that learning journal to be writing down as you go through different scenarios where you're going to have to write some sample reports. That's going to be key, because you really need to make sure that you protect yourself with the information that you see. So if you see a theft in place, if you see an incident, if you see a fire, some sort of an emergency, your report might be the only evidence that somebody has. So it needs to be clear. It needs to be communicated properly. It needs to be professional. It needs to not have opinions or thoughts. It needs to be factual in the things that you saw, not like, "I think I heard." No, I heard the subject say da 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 da, right? So you need to be very, very clear in this. So this is going to be an important section for sure. So security guards are required to write a variety of reports for different audiences. It's imperative that reports are written clear, standardized format to ensure information is conveyed accurately and without bias. So we're going to discuss the importance of using your notebook and the rules and the format for taking accurate notes. That also might depend employer to employer, right? One employer might want notes written one way, and another might want them written a different way. So you're going to ultimately have to know the employer and or the client property that you're working at, what their expectation is on the reports. Some might just say, "Hey, you know what, at the end of the day, just say nothing happened and, sign off and whatever." And then others might want every 15 minutes, a highly detailed report, which sometimes there's nothing happening. So it can be a little hard to write highly detailed of like, well, nothing happened, right? You have to kind of think outside of the box. And, I went for a patrol and this is what I saw. This is what I observed. You might not be seeing anything different, but at least you can note those things, which, hey, it's writing something, right? So again, knowing who's reading the report and what their expectation is of it. So the different types of reports, depending on the situation, like an incident report, use of force report, witness statements, those are all going to be different, right? So if somebody slips and falls and hurts themselves, you need to be able to clearly describe the environment, what happened, what was going on, who was around them, other individuals that were there. You need to get all that versus use of force. If you harm somebody, if you have to use force, why did you use force? What was the situation? What force did you use in comparison to what they used? So you need to be very, very descriptive in that. Then the basic elements of report writing: the date, time, location, actions, behaviors, description of individuals, observations, time, and completion. All of that very, very, very important. Key documentation that you have to have. The content of reports, factual information only. Again, we're not putting, well, I think I saw, and well, I thought I this. No. Like your opinion doesn't matter. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but it doesn't matter. It's only the facts of what you saw take place without a shadow of a doubt. This is what happened. That's what's going to be important. So the legal implications of reports necessary for audits or evidence in court. You also want to make sure that whatever you put in reports, have the expectation that you might have a very big audience reading that. So if the information that you write in your report, for whatever reason, something goes to court, that's going to be read in court and you're going to be scrutinized on what you write. So again, you want to be leaving out your opinions, leaving out things that didn't happen, and only sticking to facts and the observations that you saw. Then there's going to be the difference between statements and reports and how to properly distribute reports, problems with emailing, confidential reports, all of that. So again, also things you're going to learn too from your employer, because you might not be emailing anything. It might be uploaded into an app. And it might be that you have a notebook like this and your employer says, okay, when you're finished with it, give it to us and we're going to keep it on hand for, 5 to 10 years, whatever they want to do. So it very much depends on your employer. You will figure that out when you get there. But regardless, you need to make sure that you are trained properly and really understand how to write a good report, so that you can make sure that if it gets scrutinized and it's in court, that it holds up and it doesn't hurt you, but it helps the situation. So, here at the end, you're going to have to do a 1-page report and basically show us that you learned that skill set. So that is the breakdown of this section for Ontario Security Guard training syllabus. Thanks for watching.